Evening everybody, hope everybody's doing well. This is just going to be a quick update video and a response video for the free book recommendations that's going around at the moment. So I'll start with just a quick update. So over the last week I've finished my first Italian unit for my French Napoleonics. So I'm really pleased with these. These are the new Perry set. I did a test base ages ago for these and then just hadn't got round to finishing them off. But yeah, I'm really pleased. These I've completed those over the last 4 nights. So I did a stand in the evening, and the way I've divided it up is well, it's not even really divided up that much. I've got a mix of grenadiers at the front here. We've got the Voltigeurs, and then just a mix. I just wanted to make the unit look interesting rather than necessarily really historically accurate. I just wanted to go for what would look good. So I'm really pleased. So these guys represent the 4th Regiment in the Kingdom of Italy. So they've got the red facings on all of their kit. Flag is on its way. Obviously the postal service at the moment isn't particularly reliable or fast, for completely understandable. So that'll get added. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing these, and to be honest, I was a bit intimidated by the idea of doing so much white. I got a system going by which I got all the white down quite quickly and quite fast, that allowed me to kind of get through them fairly quickly and get to a standard I like. So Napoleonic front, that unit's been done. I've also finished a test base for my Prussian Landwehr, which I'm really pleased with. I love these models. They've got loads of character. I don't know if they're meant to have shakos mixed in with the caps, but I thought it looked better and it kind of gave them a lot more of a sort of ragtag Motley Crue kind of look. So what's kind of weird is that this base here took me an hour, and one of these bases over here took me an entire evening. So I'm going to hopefully knock the rest of these out in the next couple of days, and I might even do just a painting video on how I did these, because I actually found them really straightforward to do. So I'll be knocking those out shortly. Not any other painting, got hopefully another battle report coming, but I want to get on to doing the free book recommendations, which has been a response to On Point HQ, and that came out of the stream with Dom, Ken and Liam the other day, and they were talking about historical accuracy and the need to do research and what do you do, and then that led into books and the idea that maybe we could all recommend some books to each other. So I actually realised I haven't actually read that many factual historical books recently. I mostly read a lot of historical fiction. I'm currently working my way through the Matthew Shardlake books, which are brilliant. But I have read some good ones, and I have seen that a lot of them have been World War II that people have recommended. Now there's a couple that I've noted down I'm going to go and pick up. None of mine are World War II, but I don't know, maybe you guys like them. So I'll start with what I consider to be the best historical book that I've read in the last few years, and that's this one by Brendan Sims, The Longest Afternoon. 400 men who decided the Battle of Waterloo. And it's a small book, and this is all about the King's German Legion and the defence of Le Haye-Sainte. And this is a fantastic little book if you can get a hold of it. It's not particularly long. I think it only comes in it's about 130 pages, but it is meticulously researched, and basically it runs through eyewitness accounts from the soldiers who were defending Le Haye-Sainte and the area immediately around it, and you get this whole description of the battle within the battle. If you watch the battle report that we just did, where we actually played Le Haye-Sainte, you'll get an idea of the sort of the odds that the King's German Legion were up against. This gives you a brief history of the King's German Legion, and then deals with their the capture Bran and march to Waterloo, what they did the night before, and it deals with first-hand accounts, and it pieces together a minute-by-minute retelling of the events, and it's really interesting. It's particularly brutal in places, and there's some lovely anecdotes in here, particularly one when the French finally got into the farm One of the soldiers was wounded, and he went and he hid under the bed while the rest of them fled back to Wellington's lines. And the French never found him. He hid under the bed, and the French were occupying the farmhouse, drinking and congratulating themselves, and they didn't know he was under there, because the French, when they did get him, were brutal to the people who were in there, because they sustained such heavy losses trying to take the farm. So yeah, if you can get hold of this, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not necessarily interested in collecting Napoleonic models, this is a brilliant book, and it's not very long. This actually sort of leads in to my next recommendation, because one of the accounts that Brendan Sims draws on quite heavily in here is about a soldier called Frederick Lindau. And through reading this, I got interested in this soldier, and in the references I found that this guy's memoirs have basically been published, and those are from this book called Waterloo Hero, The Reminiscences of Frederick Lindau. Now this was originally published in German in 1846, so and then it's just been translated. But this is another really nice book. It deals with this soldier who flees from Hamelin about the time that the French conquer it, and he flees to England. He joins the King's German Legion. He's part of Wellington's army. And he's at the battle. He's at places like Badajoz and Salamanca, and finally he is garrisoned at La Haye-Saint with the King's German Legion. And there's some brilliant pieces in here, particularly when they're just doing things like foraging for food or getting drunk. If you're looking for sort of an overview or grand strategy of individual battles, then this doesn't have it, but it does have a really nice ground's eye view of things. I think what's particularly nice, which I'm just going to read out, is this quote on the back, made by Major George Baring. So if you watched the battle report, that's the guy who I couldn't get rid of in the game. But I just want to read this out and give you an idea. It would be an injustice to a skirmisher named Frederick Lindau if I did not mention him, bleeding from 2 wounds in the head and carrying in his pocket a considerable bag of gold from which he had taken from an enemy officer. He stood at the small back barn door, and from thence defended the main entrance in his front. I told him to go back, as the cloth about his head was not sufficient to stop the strong flow of blood. He, however, as regardless of his wounds as of his gold, answered, he would not be a scoundrel that deserted you, so long as his head is on his shoulders. He's a bit of a rogue. He comes off as that, and he does like to find his money. So that's another good one to have a look at. And the final one, which which I'm just about to reread, is Hell Riders by Terry Brighton, which is all about the truth behind the Charge of Light Brigade. Now, I bought this book quite some time ago when I was at university, actually. So, God, what year is it now? So I bought this in 2003. So anyway, that if it came out in 2003. Anyway, it's the sort of gets rid of some of the myths around the Charge of the Light Brigade. It's a book. It's got some fantastic maps at the start. I remember being really impressed with these as the Battle of Balaclava unfolds. There's a good history section behind the invasion of the Crimea, but it doesn't get too into the details. It wants to deal with the events of the Battle of Balaclava and the Charge of the Light Brigade. But the reason that I want to reread this, and it sticks in my memory, there's a incredibly good chapter in this which deals with the events that happened to the survivors of the charge in the rest of their lives and when they got back, and I found that far more interesting and intriguing than the actual telling of the battle and the event, the charge itself. And in some ways it's very sad. It's quite tragic what happened to a lot of these guys. If you take out the fact that the tragedy of war that they're involved in, a lot of these guys, when they got back, the effects of the charge and of the battle weighed very heavily on them, and the author has gone to great pains to try and detail those events. But it's been a while since I've read it, and I'm actually just about to restart. Hopefully it won't make me want to do another wargaming period. So those are my 3 books that I'd recommend. I have got a stack of ebooks and audiobooks to get through, particularly on the Wars of the Roses and heraldry, but I wanted to talk about ones where I'd actually had something to say. Anyway, just a quick vid, although that's still come out at 10 minutes long. Hope everyone's well. I'll do another update soon and another battle report, and hope you're all keeping safe. Cheers.